Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. Welcome to 2025. I haven't seen most of you for months now, so hopefully you've had a great holiday season and start to the new year. At this time, we would like to call the January 14, 2025 meeting to order at 10:06 a.m. To confirm quorum and attendance, I will ask Ms. DeGrow to please conduct a roll call vote of executive committee members.
Thank you. Ms. Artisana.
I'm here.
Mr. Cabina.
Present.
Ms. Flynn.
Present.
Ms. Gonzalez. Ms. Gonzalez.
Present. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. Ms. Hammoud.
Present.
Mr. Hopewell. Mr. Lutz. Mr. McLaughlin.
Yes.
Mr. McMahon. Dr. McMahon, apologies. Ms. Montgomery Tabron. Ms. Montgomery Tabron. Mayor Neely. Dr. Ono. Dr. Pink,
Yes.
Mr. Sutherland, Ms. Thorson,
Yes.
Ms. Tomina, and Ms. Walker Miller.
Here.
We have 9 members present, so we do not have a quorum yet.
Great. So what we'll do for right now, as we are getting quorum, is we will, as we've done in the past, we'll go through public comment and other areas that of the agenda that do not require a vote. As soon as we get quorum, we will flip to those areas that do require a vote as soon as practicable, and then finish off the agenda. So I'm assuming, since that's the way we've done it before, everyone's okay with that. But if anyone has thought of a better way to do it over the holiday break, please suggest it now. We are always open to suggestions. Hearing none, are there any communications from the secretary?
None today.
Great. We will now provide an opportunity for public comment. Mr. Groh, please conduct public comment in accordance with the MEDC public comment policy.
Thank you. We will now open the meeting for in-person public comment. For those physically present in the room wishing to speak during public comment, please approach the podium at this time. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes each. Additionally, you must state your name and city of residence before providing your remarks. Not seeing anyone wishing to speak in the room, the in-person public comment period is ended. We will now open the meeting for virtual public comment. We have received 5 pre-registered virtual public comments. For those of you who have pre-registered, I will call your name and the last 4 digits of your phone number to signal your turn to speak. Once prompted, you must use the raise hand function, and I'll prompt you to unmute your microphone. If you're dialed in on your phone, you'll need to press *9 and then use the raise hand function when I get to you, and then you press *6 to unmute yourself. The first registered public comment we have is Andrew Walker with the last 4 digits of 9880. Mr. Walker is not on the line, so we will move to Donna Smith with the last 4 digits, 7998. Okay, Ms. Smith is also not on the line, so we will move to Barry Wayne Adams with the last 4 digits, 9478.
He's also not on the line.
Mr. Adams
Barry Wayne Adams, yes.
is also not on the line. We will move to Marjorie Steele with the last 4 digits, 8944. Ms. Steele, can you hear us?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, great. My name is Marjorie Steele. I am the founder and executive director of the Economic Development Responsibility Alliance of Michigan, or EDRA of MI. This morning, I'd actually like to read a piece from a piece of reporting that was published yesterday morning, specifically in regards to a Board of Ethics complaint that was filed by a woman named Tetta Hughes against specifically 2 members of the MEDC's Executive Committee and MSF boards, respectively, Tom Lutz and Randy Thalen. I'm just going to go ahead and read portions of this. If those of you on the executive committee there haven't read this piece by J.P. Isbell and Michigan News Source, I strongly encourage you to do so. It pretty much explains why you don't have a quorum this morning and why you are likely to continue to struggle to have a quorum as long as you have this leadership. Mr. Thalen, CEO of the Right Place, a nonprofit economic development corporation, joined the MEDC MSF board in spring of 2023 For background information on the organization, the Right Place secured over $175 million in grant funding and a Renaissance zone designated at $540 million from the MEDC for the Goshen project through SOAR, whose funds are managed, of course, by the MEDC and MSF. According to the Hughes complaint, one of the things she points out occurred in July of 21. One of the many things that she points out occurred in July of 2024 when Mr. Thalen voted to extend taxpayer funding to Gentex, a company specializing in advanced technologies, primarily in the automotive and aerospace technologies. Hughes told Michigan News Source, Gentex CEO is the president of the board at the tax-exempt economic development corporation called The Right Place, where he determines The Right Place Incorporated's executive director, Randy Thalen's salary. Randy Thalen was appointed to the MEDC MSF board in April of 2023. In the following months, he disclosed conflicts of interest and recused himself dozens of times. Thalen voted in July of 2024 to renew millions in Gentex MSF funding, despite the fact that the MSF Act prohibits funding organizations which have been found to falsify records. The SEC fined Gentex $4 million in February of 2023 for falsifying records. Thalen neither recused himself, nor did he admit his conflict of interest, nor did he tell the MSF that Gentex had falsified records. Hughes' complaint also outlines how, while serving on the MEDC's Executive Committee, Tom Lutz's employer, Tom Lutz, who is, of course, not here today, the Michigan Regional Council of Carpenters and Millwrights and its subsidiaries received $10 million in grant funding from the MEDC. During this 18-month period, Mr. Lutz's salary from the MRCC tripled, nearly tripled, according to Hughes.
Thank you, Ms. Steele. The fifth pre-registered public commenter is Brandy with the last four digits, 1458. Brandy, I believe you're unmuted.
Okay, Brandy Sweet from Green Charter Township. I just want to say that the way Whitmer used the lame duck session to ram through the MEDC SOAR extension package, rebranded now as Make It in Michigan, was disgusting. This just further proves how unethical and unwanted this all is. Quentin Messer said it himself, economic development is under greater scrutiny. I've attended almost every MSF and executive committee meeting for the past year now, and all I've seen is toxic corporate handouts all focused around this new Green Deal. The scrutiny Quentin mentioned is because what you're doing and how you're doing it is wrong. The priorities are backwards. Michigan is not a tech state. We are pure Michigan. You know what all these communities have in common? It's caring for the environment that you all are neglecting and selling out. Your playbook of corruption has caught up. Communities are uniting. Eagle Township mega site is done for. Marshall, Mundy, and Green Charter Township that are set to have mega sites are not backing down. All you want to do is fund hazardous developments, EV battery factories, semiconductor facilities, copper and potash mines, data centers, and most recently, the construction of a weapons factory. Communities are having these projects forced on them. No local input is being considered. Why is taxpayer money being used for this political agenda, all while our roads, schools, waterways, and more go ignored? I find it funny the MEDC is out in Mundy trying to suck up and admit to not being transparent. Where are you all when it comes to Marshall and Green Charter Township? The same speech given there is deserved here, and I'm sure many other places. The air, land, and water are all connected. Human life depends on the health of our environment. What good is economic development if the land, wildlife, and people are destroyed and sickened in the process? No amount of technology can replace what natural nature can do. Stop ignoring the will of the people and jeopardizing our water, environment, and quality of life. Goshen, that is said to be coming to my community, has done nothing but stall the project and utterly lie in the process. You think it's okay to invest taxpayer money into a project that was supposed to break ground in 2023 and still hasn't even submitted a permit application to Eagle to get the process actually started? In October 22, it was stated that soil conditions were suitable for construction, yet wetland delineations now show the entire property being covered in protected wetlands, 60 acres, cold transitional streams, and is in a major flood zone. The clawbacks need to kick in here. It's beyond obvious they will never reach their set milestones, which brings me to Goshen's annual compliance certificate in their annual progress report that's supposed to be sent over to legislator here soon. Hopefully the public can get copies of that, and hopefully you start holding Goshen and these other hazardous projects accountable for their failure and deceit.
Thank you, Brandy. That concludes our public comment period for today's meeting. With that, Mr. Chair, I will turn it back to you.
Great, thank you, Mr. Grove. Thank everyone that registered and those that took the time to comment. Due to the hybrid nature of this meeting, as we've done for the past 4 years, and to ensure accuracy for the meeting minutes, I'd ask that you please identify yourself before offering a motion. All votes will be taken by roll call. Heading to the chairman's report, we will start with the approval of the November 19th. Oh, we don't have a quorum, right?
You don't have quorum.
Okay, so we'll skip to chairman's report, item 3C, where I will make a hopefully good announcement, but otherwise an apology. We promulgated a meeting schedule last time that ended up having a conflict with some members of the MEDC executive team. And so we have revised the meeting schedule, which will be on the last page of the packet that you were sent out recently. Today is obviously January 14th. As you hopefully know, we kept the meeting. March 11th, meeting will also stay the same. We've removed the May meeting. There was a conflict there. We looked at moving it to earlier in May or to June. Ultimately, we decided to have the meeting pulled down, and we'll continue with the July 22nd retreat. That location is TBD, but I would encourage anyone who would like to host that meeting in their town or county or location to send me a text during this meeting, because we're going to decide the location immediately afterwards. September 24th is the interlocal, the meeting in conjunction with the Interlocal and Corporate Partners annual meeting as well. That's also when we do the annual budget approval. That has stayed the same. That location is also TBD, so we are willing to accept suggestions for location as well. And then November 18th will be the final meeting in Lansing as scheduled. So the biggest change is removal of the late May meeting, which was in advance of Mackinac, the Mackinac Policy Conference. So if those of you that generally attend or will be attending policy conference in May of 2025 would like an update from MEDC leadership on items that they may that you may be that we may want you to discuss or you may be asked about on the island, we will hold a session for those individuals, or sessions for those individuals.
Yeah, excuse me, Mr. Chair. This is Mayor Neely out of Flint. I didn't know I wasn't. I got into the meeting about 5 minutes late, so I didn't know if I was into the roll call to see if you can perfect a quorum or not. But also, I will be interested in hosting that meeting. If you see the need to, we'll be more than happy to host a meeting here in Flint.
Great. Thank you, Mayor Neely. We have noted your interest in hosting either the July or September meetings. And Mr. Groh, I'm assuming that Mayor Neely has now been counted for a quorum.
Yes, we are at 10 members.
Excellent. So we need one more for quorum.
We need one more.
Perfect. Thank you, Mayor Neely.
No problem.
Great. Any objections to the revised dates? And sorry for changing them. This is the first time, I think Dr. Pick and Krista and Beth can hold me accountable. This is the first time in our 6 years here that we've changed the dates. So my sincere apologies. I know everyone's busy and schedules meetings far in advance. So we will not change the schedule again, other than adding a location. But does the revised schedule, does anyone have concerns with the revised schedule? Great. The next item on the agenda is to discuss two departures that we've had. Part of the reason that we are deficient on quorum is that we, as you know, Kyle Caldwell left the executive committee 2 meetings ago. Mayor Bliss and Brian Rich have also resigned from the executive committee. So we wish them the best. They were good members during the short period of time that we had them. And we look forward to having a full contingent of executive committee members within the next meeting or two. We've already engaged with the appointments office in the executive office of the governor to understand some of their suggestions. Likewise, we do have the ability to suggest. So if there are individuals that you believe could be good MEDC executive committee members, please let me know. Happy to suggest them to the EOG as well. With that, we will move to the subcommittee reports until we get to quorum. So I will turn it over to Krista Flynn. Ms. Flynn, do you have any updates on behalf of the Personnel and Compensation Subcommittee?
I do. Thank you, Chairman. The Personnel and Compensation Subcommittee met on January 6th for the sole purpose of discussing the annual CEO performance evaluation process. For those that are new to the Executive Committee, I'll give a little context. The PNC Committee initiates a 360-degree CEO evaluation survey to facilitate the Executive Committee's annual performance review, the final rating, and any potential compensation adjustments for the MEDC CEO. The subcommittee first reviewed the process, the format, and the content utilized in the 23-24 survey. There were no changes to the actual questions for 24 and 25. However, we did decide to include a NA option for the competency sections to allow viewers who, may have had very little or no experience on that specific topic to opt out of a competency question. The demographic, annual performance to goals, and the final rating sections will still be mandatory for everyone to answer. And of course, the directions were updated in the survey to reflect that change as well. Recipients it will include, this executive committee, the governor and her COO, the Michigan Strategic Fund Board, 10 representatives, statewide partner representatives, and Quinton's direct reports. Everyone will receive the survey on January 31st and have the month of February to complete the evaluation. We'll get reminders to you all throughout that time frame. All necessary instructions for completion will be included. Quinton will provide his self-evaluation, which will also be included or advanced to the survey recipients. And responses will be compiled by the survey tool and presented in a closed session at the March 11th, 2025 full executive committee. Are there any questions on that process?
No questions.
Lynn, do you want to run through the questions with the group or is that sufficient?
You did a great job, Krista, and they are exactly the same questions that you have seen previously if you've completed the survey. So there will be no changes, and Quinton will receive his questions in the exact same format subsequent to this session.
Great, thank you.
Great. Thank you, Krista. Thank you, Lynn. The one thing I would add, and I know it's coming out January 31st, I would really emphasize the importance of this process, not just for Quinton and his evaluation, but also for the organization as a whole under his leadership. And so I would really encourage every MEDC member, executive committee member, to fill out that form as quickly as possible. I will note that there is not a February meeting, so hopefully the time that you have set aside for MEDC can be used in February for that purpose. And B, hopefully without a meeting, your feelings about Quinton's performance don't change dramatically over the course of February. So let's, as Krista said, we'll send out reminders to make sure that we get full compliance from the executive committee members. But once you see the first one, please take the time to fill it out as quickly as possible so we can send everyone fewer emails and fewer reminders. The next agenda item is the Strategic Planning Subcommittee report. Dr. Pink, do you have any updates on behalf of the Strategic Planning Subcommittee?
Mr. Chair, just a couple of things, and good morning to fellow colleagues. Just real brief, and I apologize that I'm so brief today. I need to get to Grand Rapids soon and catch a flight out of state. But I will go through just really quickly, just a quick update. I will try my best not to mention anything that has nothing to do with this strategic planning committee work, such as the fact that Ferris State University won the NCAA Division II football national championship, and third time in 4 years. So I'll try not to mention that in this report. A few things I want to get through. Great time in working with Steve and Rebecca in on that as well. We did not meet as a subcommittee here recently, but Steve and Rebecca provided additional information to the executive committee in your packet. And one thing you will notice in that packet is since the last time we met, we were able to, staff was able to identify carryover funding that for one of the metrics that we had mentioned on the strategic plan around interns and interns being placed. If you look at your packet, you will see that that's a bit different than the last time we met, because we were able to increase that target in the strategic plan from 700 to 1,400 because of those dollars that were realized. And that results not only in a target higher than last year, but higher than last year's actual. So we're excited to be able to do that. There's no vote needed for that on that move, because increasing the target, we've increased the target to align with the additional prior year funding that is being utilized. So there's no added additional funding being utilized that would require us to get approval, because we're realizing those carryover dollars that are already there. But that's exciting that we're able to be mindful of what those targets are, and if there's, as we've talked about as a strategic planning committee, if there are opportunities for us to adjust in those targets, we'll certainly want to do that. Our committee will be meeting in the future to discuss progress on the strategic plan. So our subcommittee will be having that meeting, as well as to consider other considerations that might impact our strategy as an organization, such as federal industrial policy and maybe some federal opportunities that may be out there. So more to come on that as we as a committee start to ramp up our meetings as far as 2025 is concerned. Always happy to take any questions. I wanted to be brief with that update, but helpful, and always thankful to Steve and our team, the staff, for the good work in helping our committee stay relevant with our work. Mr. Chair, back to you.
Thank you. Steve, anything to add?
Nothing else. Thanks, Dr. Pink.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Pink. Any questions or comments for Dr. Pink or the Strategic Planning Subcommittee? Great. Dr. Pink, thank you for not mentioning the fact that Ferris State won the NCAA Division II football national championship for the third time in 4 years. We'll make sure that's not reflected in the meeting minutes for next meeting.
I would just
Try to
like to
keep
know,
those things in the right place, Mr. Chair. And honestly, in all seriousness, I love the fact that we were able to do that for our community here in West Central Michigan, for Big Rapids, Mecosta County, and the surrounding, and our state. But it was a fun time yesterday celebrating that with our community.
I would just say congratulations to Dr. Pink and the university. And also, I move that you maybe wear more Ferris State gear in the future. That would be great.
So noted. So noted. Thank you for that, sir.
Excellent. And I will note that this is the second consecutive year, actually fourth consecutive year, that we've had a member of the executive committee win a national championship. Dr. Pink has 3, and Dr. Ono has 1. And I would wish Dr. McMahon better luck, but I think that would conflict out Dr. Pink. So I'll leave next year's D2 football national championship up to them to decide between Dr. Pink and Dr. McMahon. With that, we now have the CEO report. So I will turn it over to Quentin Messer Jr. to provide that.
Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. And again, congratulations to Bulldog Nation. on their third natty. Do we have the slides? Please. While we wait to pull up the slides, I just want to continue to express on behalf of my colleagues our gratitude for your continued time and diligence and participation on the MEDC Executive Committee. One of the things that I want to discuss when we pull up the slides is just to give a very quick and brief, and we'll make sure that we have these slides, recap of the accomplishments that we had in 2024. Obviously, we have continued work to do, and that's something that's going to be reflected as we continue to execute the Make It in Michigan economic development strategy on attracting and developing people, cultivating and revitalizing places, and then competing for and winning projects. That is, in essence, our economic development strategy, the Make It in Michigan strategy. It builds upon our unique heritage as a state that does hard tech and deep tech well. Next slide, please. Thanks, Lavon. So, as I talked about it, our strategy really has three co-equal pillars. The first is people. And you have to attract and develop people. As the board chair alluded to, we have a number of university presidents. So this underscores the unique importance and why this is such a powerful assemblage of leaders across our state. So one of the things, and these were selected accomplishments, our talent solutions team led by Carrie Inbersall Singh awarded 14 institutions, you can see it, support that basically prepares and sets the groundwork for the next generation of Michiganders to make sure that they have not only employment opportunities, but entrepreneurial opportunities in those areas that are core to the Michigan and national economy. Also, humble brag on our talent action team. They were named one of Fast Company's most innovative companies in the business services category. Next slide. Okay, so we will come back to the CEO report, and I'll turn it back over to the board chair.
Great.
Dr. Pink, are you still there?
So we will pause the CEO report.
I am.
From Ms. Carla Walker-Miller, and a second from, would anyone like to provide a second?
Howard Hattie, can you guys hear him?
No.
I'm
No, we
having a hard
missed
time
that.
hearing.
Sorry, I was on mute. That was my fault.
Okay,
I will start again.
thank you.
Attached are the, we will, so we will now turn to the action items that need approval given the fact that we have quorum. Those items are Chairman's Report item 3A and 3B. 3A is the meeting minutes. So attached to your packet, you will find the November 19th, 2024 meeting minutes. Are there any edits or changes that need to be made? If none, we would entertain a motion in support for those minutes.
So moved.
We have a motion from Ms. Carla Walker-Miller.
This is Beth, I'll support.
And support from Beth Ardisana. Are there any additional comments before we move to a vote? Ms. DeGrow, please conduct the roll call vote.
Thank you. Ms. Artisan,
Yes.
Mr. Covenant, Ms. Flynn,
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mr. McLaughlin,
Yes.
Ms. Mayor Neely,
Yes.
oh, Ms. Hammoud,
Yes.
Dr. Pink,
Yes.
Ms. Thorson,
I believe you're on
Yes.
mute.
Ms. Walker Miller,
Yes.
and Ms. Tomino.
Yes.
We have 11 votes, but it passes.
Great, thank you. The second action item before we return to the CEO report is not to over dramatize it, but is bittersweet for us and hopefully will result in a net positive outcome. As those of you who have been on the call have heard, we have a new voice on the other end of the voting. And also, as you saw in the packet attached for the executive committee's consideration, is a resolution to appoint Christina DeGrow as the secretary of the corporation. As all of you know, Kristen Armstrong has served as secretary since 2018, was recently promoted to senior vice president for business development, programs, and education. Given the time commitments required for a new position, we have reluctantly supported Quentin and MEDC leadership's recommendation that Kristen step down and Christina be appointed secretary. Christina is a corporate counsel here, senior corporate counsel, has been with MEDC for 6.5 years. And in the 2 or 3 times I've met her, has proven to be a very wonderful person who has sat in on the last 2 meetings, apprenticing, as it were, for this moment. So are there any questions or comments on the proposed resolution? If none, we would entertain a motion and support to approve the resolution.
So moved, Krista Flynn.
Support, Sheldon Neely.
We have a motion from Krista Flynn and support from Mayor Neely. Are there any additional discussion necessary for this motion? Mr. Grow, please conduct a roll call vote. By the way, is this a conflict of interest, you conducting a roll call vote for your own
I did it for
resolution? You did? Okay.
Ms. Artisana,
Yes.
Mr. Cabina,
Yes.
Ms. Flynn,
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Ms. Hammoud,
Yes.
Mr. McLaughlin,
Yes.
Mayor Neely,
Yes.
Dr. Pink,
Yes.
Ms. Thorson,
Yes.
Ms. Tomina,
Yes.
Ms. Walker Miller,
Yes.
and that motion passes.
Congratulations, Christina. Now, I understand why Christina's smiling. I'm not sure why Kristen is, but, but I believe I have an idea. So Kristen's promised us this is not the last time we'll see her. Although she did reference doing these meetings from a margarita in the parking lot. But I don't understand what that exactly means. With that, we will turn it back to the CEO report. Thank you for everyone. Yes, Renee? Ms. Tomina, did you have a comment?
No, I was just gonna say, I think that just proves to, why Christina, this is Sarah Gonzalez. I just wanted to say that I think that just proves why, Kristen deserved the promotion of her really great, broad thinking skills. But many thanks to Kristen Armstrong for her diligent service in this. And
No, for sure. She's from the beginning with a new chairperson and two vice chairs in the last 6 years, and COVID, and flipping to first virtual meetings, then hybrid meetings on the fly, times where we had barely enough members to meet quorum. Kristen's been great and flexible, and as you mentioned, Sarah, an abstract thinker in times of need. So we truly thank you for your service as secretary. Of course. And unlike the Ferris State National Championship, that should make the meeting minutes. With that, I want to thank everyone for their forbearance, especially Quentin and team for letting us interrupt the CEO report to make sure we got the action items that needed votes done while we had quorum. But with that, I'll turn it back over to Quentin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And I think what you heard about the sort of passing the torch from Kristen to Christina is really the breadth of talent that I am fortunate to have among my teammates. So let me go back. I talked about the Making in Michigan. We're still executing the Making in Michigan economic development strategy focused on people, places, and projects. We talked about people. I want to talk about places. I mean, one of the things that is very gratifying is the fact that the impact that you have as executive committee members are felt on both peninsulas and 83 counties across the state. And that's from Main Street to mixed use development to large scale developments, but they really touch people where they live. And a big part of elevating the work of MEDC is really the integration of talent, making sure that talent has a great place to live and recreate, and then also have a great place where they can pursue jobs and opportunity. And so you see on the screen, if you can see it, the work that we've done. And I just want to say parenthetically, the 3,500 units of workforce housing, remember the dominant agency for housing in the state is MSHDA. They are executing the state housing development plan, but led by Michelle Wildman and others on our Places team, we come alongside and do work to make sure that workforce housing, the folks who are going to be the future employees, the future entrepreneurs, have places to live and across our both peninsulas. Next slide, please. And projects. A lot of focus is on the projects, but really our projects are not just those that end up in the paper, but they're really projects spanning from small businesses. We have one of the leading SSBCI small business state credit programs that we have begun to get dollars to small businesses. One of the things that we created last year, we welcomed the state's first Chief Innovation Ecosystem Officer in Ben Marciona, and just yesterday, a total Team Michigan celebration with the governor signed the R&D tax incentive as well as a $60 million innovation fund to further provide support for innovative companies. And some of those executives are representative on this executive committee. These are just two projects I want to share. I think the one thing that I want to highlight, and particularly sharing these projects, as Dr. Pink mentioned and my colleague Steve Bacall mentioned when we had the strategic planning report, federal industrial policy continues to matter. And as we welcome the Trump-Vance administration, the Trump-Vance administration, rest assured, will have a federal industrial policy. And we're beginning to see the outlines of that. I think you're going to see different emphasis, but you will still see work in the mobility innovation space. You will see work in semiconductors and making sure that those supply chains are able to be brought home from a national defense perspective. You also see defense and aerospace investment, and you also see in the clean tech. The emphasis will be very different, but the point is, Team Michigan has to be adroit and focus and make sure that we have the flexibility to respond to the direction of federal industrial policy. And as one of the most international states, we have 3 border crossings with Canada. We have the most active trade corridor with the Ambassador Bridge and soon the Gordie Howe. We're going to be really impacted by federal industrial policy. And so we're excited to see where the Trump Vance team leads us in that direction. Next slide. Entrepreneurship and innovation. I talked about Ben Marciona, our Chief Innovation Ecosystem Officer, joining us, and there he is on the screen there. I talked about just signing, the governor signed the R&D tax incentive. Why is that important? Michigan is a state that's always personified business creativity. The ability to commercialize and go to market with problem-solving solutions, and the ability to support innovation across a myriad of sectors, from agribusiness to tourism and hospitality. As many of you know, the snowboard was created here in Michigan. And we obviously know the innovations in areas as diverse as apparel to fintech, as well as pharma, medical devices, and mobility innovation. You can also see how the work that taxpayer dollars can be a catalytic investment that can unlock private investment. Next slide. So I will always say, and this is something that I've learned from this executive committee, as well as Governor Whitmer, as well as bipartisan members of the legislature, our work is still ahead of us. A lot of work remains to be done. We're proud of the accomplishments. We secured recognition as a top 10 state for business. But since we have a number of university presidents who've held up the natty, we want to be number 1. And we will be zealous and relentless in our quest to be number 1. But we do want to recognize the progress we've made. You can see that on the screen. But we also realize that there are some areas in which we are number 1. So you can see Mackinac Island earned a number 1 best summer destination title by USA Today. You can also see the UP being named the number 1 place to see fall colors by USA Today. And we obviously know what's happening elsewhere in our state. And hopefully our alliance will soon be holding up the elusive Lombardi trophy. And I'm also excited because Dr. Pink gave me the opening to go to sports, which is my favorite topic. I'm also excited by the resurgence of the Red Wings and my Pistons, who are now 2 games over 500, I should say. Next slide. So coming attractions will take time in subsequent meetings, but as many of you know, we do have a different governing framework in Lansing. And obviously in Washington, we talked about Washington as we welcome the Trump-Vance administration next Monday. But in Lansing, the Michigan House is now led by Republican Speaker Matt Hall. We look forward to working with Speaker Hall. We've worked with him in the past. The Senate is led by Senate Majority Leader Winnie Brinks. And we have divided government. Obviously, our executive branch is led by Governor Whitmer and Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist. I am still remarkably enthusiastic about the possibility of the work that we can do to create greater jobs and entrepreneurial opportunity. And I would say, candidly, Michiganders have always been pragmatic and have searched and have identified areas of bipartisan agreement as it relates to economic development. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I think we're already seeing encouraging signals that it is possible. Because when we're focused on making in Michigan, We make it about people, places, and projects, expanding and creating jobs and entrepreneur opportunities across both peninsulas. That's something that people can agree with. I do want to just frame that the new House has announced House oversight committees. We don't have a lot of line of sight, but I just wanted to list those and highlight that there will be 2 that, if not more, that will be focused upon MEDC, the corporate subsidies and state investments. Obviously, MEDC recommends the Michigan Strategic Fund approves the granting of taxpayer dollars and other abatements, and then possibly to Homeland Security and Foreign Influence. TBD, but I just want to flag for members of the Executive Committee. Next slide, please. As always, I am just grateful. I tell people all the time, I have the best job in economic development and arguably the best job anywhere. I have the good fortune to be a part of a nationwide state economic development executives network. And my colleagues from across the country are envious of the fact of the tremendous assets, beginning with our fellow friends and neighbors, Michiganders. And so I'm excited about the work ahead. I'm excited about the challenges ahead, but more importantly, I know that we have the wherewithal, not only with our current team, but with the strategic governance of this executive committee and the work of our executive and legislative branches. So let me pause if I may, and if it be the board chair's prerogative for me to entertain any questions that any of the executive committee members might have.
Any questions or comments for Quentin or the team on the CEO report?
No, thank you.
Great. Hearing none, any questions or comments for anyone on anything? This is the open discussion portion of the agenda. Okay. Hearing none, thank you for your time today. The next meeting will be on March 11th, 2025 in Lansing. A virtual option will be provided as always for those who are unable to attend in person. Additional meeting details and the agenda will be sent in advance. Thank you for your time today, and I look forward to seeing you all March 11th, and I hope you all have a great start to 2025. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.